YouTube, welcome back to another unboxing. We got a bunch of special watches today. A lot of watches that are $500,000 plus. Some uber rare pieces. Not your run-of-the-mill unboxing, would you say that?
Yeah, some cool pieces.
Very complicated right now between these boxes, so let's do this. And I'm gonna start with my favorite independent brand and the man, MB&F. And I'm gonna start with the box because even the boxes from MB&F are just literally out of this world. It looks like a spaceship. I mean, look at this thing. And then you go, whoop, whoop. Look at that. Can you make an alien noise?
I don't know, beep boop bop, something like that. Is that the robot? I don't know.
Never mind, Marcus. So that's the box.
ET was before
Let's go to the watch, the most desirable and the rarest Evo Perpetual, the one made out of?
Palladium.
Palladium. Palladium is a platinum-like metal. It is a precious metal.
It's part of the platinum family.
People will always be like, why go palladium? You know, what's the flex? What's the point? And the flex is in the fact that that's a material that's really hard to work with.
Yeah.
Same goes for platinum. Less demand in the industrial sector for platinum resulted in platinum going down in value. But doesn't change the fact that it's a lot harder to work with as a material. Yeah. So to be able to create a watch case of that magnitude in a palladium case or a platinum case is a feat all of its own, but that's what MB&F is all about.
Yeah, so for example, like a perpetual calendar system often is run on a gear system with springs, right? And those springs are very finicky, prone to breaking. What Stephen McDonald actually did is a one-of-a-kind perpetual calendar with a mechanical processor. So what that does is it will actually instantaneously adapt over time, and it actually locks the mechanism whenever you're in that danger zone between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. and changing the calendar when the watch was actually most prone to breaking. And this was actually, this one is actually not even available. It's actually a sale by myself and Kevin. So you know what's even crazier?
No, but I'm sure you'll tell me.
It happened on the 365th day of working here. It's 1 year today.
That's right. I can't believe I was able to stand this guy for this long. This young,
I don't know
cocky, Mr. Know-It-All guy. The only reason he's still here, by the way, and people like to call him the cocky Mr. Know-It-All, is because he is cocky and he is Mr. Know-It-All, and I like him. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph Tourbillon manual wine. Renault and Patek movement in this guy. This is one of the original Royal Oak tourbillons. I never understood how they stuck this into the Royal Oak line, considering this is 45 millimeters, but yet it's still not offshore. It's a Royal Oak due to the height of the case. What makes this watch so rare in my mind is the fact that it is on a gold bracelet. They made this in stainless steel. They made this in rose gold on a strap. They made this in yellow gold on a strap. Yeah. What I love about this is just a solid hunk of gold. Big watch, heavy watch, but also with one of the most prestigious complications. By the way, if you guys didn't check out our video on complicated complications on YouTube that me and Marco did on the last edition of What's on My Desk, check that out. We talk in depth about the tourbillon. And the next watch I'm going to show is something that everybody loves, one of my favorite APs in current production, and that is the double balance in rose gold. I don't want to downplay the double balance, right? Yeah. Because what the double balance actually does for a watch, I will let my super cocky know-it-all explain.
Where did this title come from? The original skeleton was the 15305, very industrial look to it. Adding the double balance essentially increased the accuracy by about 30% on the actual watch itself. So again, I mean, it goes back to this idea, right? Audemars Piguet is a phenomenal watchmaker. They're just underrated because they use the Royal Oak silhouette so much. Aesthetically,
I love both. They couldn't be more different from one another.
Yeah.
And this one, by adding these complications, you have the hype flex and you have the horological flex. And the same goes for this watch. This is also a horological flex. But I think the market that we're going into now is going to be more about the horological and historical flex. We're going to come back to that. Trends go in waves. Bell-bottom pants were popular 3 times in their career, I believe.
What's bell-bottom?
You know, it's like jeans that are flare out. You don't know what this is, but you're about to find out and you're going to go, oof. If you say sheesh, I swear to God. That watch is actually going in the back of my safe. Okay. And that's going to sit there for a little bit. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to wear it. There's something to be said about Breguet #1, La Manna #2, the period of time these watches were done.
Most important is the period of time, right? Because this was under the direction of Daniel Roth, which
Roth
to me was the Roth era Breguets, right? We're talking about late 80s are probably the most collectible Breguets. What Daniel Roth did is he brought back the Breguet conception into the 21st century. Yeah, but at the time it would have been
Do the math on that
20.
one?
Yeah, because you had to subtract one.
Right.
Yeah. To me, I absolutely love this. I think this has the classic look of a Breguet watch, but I mean, it's just so well made, and the value is just ridiculous. It's a 5070, better finished, and like at a fraction of the price.
Last night we were invited to an event hosted by Watchfinder in New York City. That was one of the topics we actually discussed because, you know, with the dip that the market took, you see a lot of collectors being discouraged. But, you know, they want that next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing that's going to put a spark in my eyes? The year 80 to the year 1990 is going to be those watches across major brands such as Breguet. Sits well on my wrist.
Breguet watches naturally wear bigger because of the lug. The way the lugs are done, it actually feels like a little bit bigger.
80s and 90s. We're right post the crisis, the quartz crisis, right? Production numbers for major companies out there was very, very slim. They were based on demand. There was no social media, and that's why there's very, very few of these were made in comparison to current productions.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite modern post Daniel Roth watches, period.
Yeah.
The La Tradition from Breguet is literally my absolute favorite model. Very, very raw. Very, very out there. Why is it called the La Tradition? Because this was Breguet's way to show off their traditional watchmaking skills, to which there are second to none. Breguet is the godfather of all watchmaking. Watch the video me and Mark made on that.
And there's so many subtle nuances that tie back to Breguet as a brand, right? For example, like you have this right here, which is their parachute shock system, the first shock protection system ever made in a watch. And even just the way this watch is designed is like a how-to, like in terms of how a watch works, right? So you wind the crown, it powers the mainspring. The mainspring delivers energy from the fourth wheel, third wheel, second wheel, first wheel, escape wheel. Escape wheel engages the pallet fork, which is attached to the hairspring, and does the pendulum balance of the
He knows all that,
so like,
but yet he had to figure out which century this was made in. Mark, like sometimes you baffle me. By the way, Breguet was like that go-to guy. There was, because there's a couple of inventions that like, oh, it really was this guy that did it, but then Breguet put it out on market. I mean, some guys tried, and Breguet made it happen.
You see even modern independents, the great ones, right? I'm talking about George Daniels, F.P. Journe, all were inspired by the work of Abraham Louis Breguet. So, of course, I mean, he was a horological genius who was 250 years ahead of his time.
And I want to give a quick shout out to a gentleman by the name of Ronnie on Instagram. We can tag him later. You know who you are, and I'm sure a lot of you guys already know who you are, because this is a very specific genre of collection. We're talking 50s, 60s. We're talking about Pateks. We're talking about something that seemingly doesn't seem like a big deal from afar, but something that's extremely, extremely rare. So I'm going to need you guys to zoom in on this. This is a reference number 3445. 3445 Calatrava from Patek from 1960 something or other, right? Zoom in on the dial. You'll notice this is a double signed Patek. Anything double signed, Patek, Rolex, any major brand out there is going to be extremely and uber rare, and majority of the time it's the retailer that would stamp their store name on there. In this case, it's not just any retail, it's Cartier. So that's a double stamped Calatrava from Patek, stamp Cartier, uber rare.
Yeah,
go online and try to find one for sale. Those that buy them, they never sell them, right? And Ronnie's actually one of the top collectors in the world in that genre, where he has a multitude of double signed Pateks, double signed APs, Vacherons, and things of that nature. And his collection is absolutely amazing. One of these days, I will fly down to Africa and we'll do an interview.
We've seen these double signed stuff before. The most obviously famous is Patek and Tiffany, right? Tiffany & Co. The rarest though I personally know of is Cartier, because Cartier never really stamped watches. They did it for AP and Patek, but they didn't really retail watches that weren't their own very, very much. So to find a double stamped Cartier Patek Philippe is...
This is the cream of the crop when it comes to double stamp dials, I will admit. Oftentimes the value on a watch, now this watch, the market value is around $35,000, right? Regular 34, 45 Calatrava in this condition today will fetch...
Probably about 10, 15.
Yeah,
depending year
up
and
to
condition.
mid-teens, depending year and condition, how complete it is. So that little double stamp dial adds significant value to the watch. You know the funny part is that on last night's conversations, as we were mingling in the room, there was about 150 collectors there, and lots of questions about how do you know this, and how do you get into this, and how do you spit some things off the top of your head. You know what my number one answer was to those collectors in the room was, it was the passion. And it's this very passion that gets me excited about a tiny little Calatrava such as this versus even, you know, my favorite brand, you know, badass Tourbillon chronograph. It's absolutely insane. Rare watches that we buy and sell here often make their rounds back to us. And case in point with the next two pieces. What this is an Audemars Piguet Grand Complication, the granddaddy of them all. Same case, this is the Royal Oak, except what this is a full-blown perpetual calendar, split-second chronograph, minute repeater. This is the stainless steel version of it, and this is a rose gold version. These are watches that went to a collector a couple of years back. You guys have probably seen me show the rose gold for a little bit. And oftentimes, watches do tend to come back around to us, and they do it because of the relationship we have with our clients. What they do is they enjoy them, they wear them, and when they're ready to bring it back, there's actually value left on the table. It'll come back to us, and the only thing I ask for is, hey, when you're done with it, make sure they come back my way. We'll put you into something else, and I'll continue, and I'll get another shot at selling these. What you're looking at here is a one-off piece. They're both piece unique. They're the most complicated watch, and on top of being a perpetual calendar, split-second chronograph, on top of being a minute repeater, and all those wonderful things, it is also a skeleton. And that's what makes these watches most special. And don't forget, this is also an automatic.
So both piece uniques are one in
just
the
like you, Marco.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no other, never to be.
Look at him, he's getting red.
I have to understand what goes into the ordering process, even for a watch like that, right? You're just not somebody off the street ordering a watch like this from a historical legacy brand like AP. So to have something like this even in your hands, to be able to look at it and appreciate it, it's incredible. Yeah, it's breathtaking, honestly.
How many times over has this watch have to be calibrated in order for it to run properly with all the features and functionalities that are in there? Me and Marco, we talked about complications. It doesn't get any more complicated than this.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I think this thing has 648 parts or something like that. Actually addressing the elephant in the Swiss industry room where the independents are slowly taking over. They're becoming the hype, and you have these seemingly unknown watchmakers make 12 tourbillons a year, and all of a sudden it's impossible to get one. And the likes of 𝗙𝗃𝗃 and the likes of this new kid that just won an award. And AP was just like, oh, independents think they can flex their horological muscles, hold my beer, because we make stuff like this. And we've been making stuff like this for a long, long time. With that said, I want to thank Marco for doing this unboxing with me. I want to thank YouTube. Don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit Marco's Instagram, subscribe to him, or not subscribe, follow him on Instagram if you don't, for lots of cool knowledge posts. And you can also have the ability to DM him with any questions that are really, really geeky and horologically related. It's gonna be hard to beat this unboxing, you know?
Yeah,
but I do have some tricks up my sleeve coming in. You'll be pleasantly shocked. Thank you guys, we'll see you soon.